Okay, this is factor linear expressions lesson, last lesson of the unit, and we're on page 415. Essential question is, let's try that again. How can you use numbers and symbols to represent mathematical ideas? The vocabulary, monomial, factor, factored form. And so let's jump right in here. So when you look at your essential question, we should be able to answer this one now, with this being the last lesson. We've been dealing with a lot of symbols and variables for those symbols to represent lots of different mathematical ideas or world problems or just problems in general. A couple of the vocabulary words that will help us answer these questions are like monomial. A monomial is a number, a variable, or a product of a number and one more variables, or one or more variables. So monomials, these are 25, it's a number, x, 40x. It's almost like our terms. You know, when we're asked to, define the terms, it's like the terms. Sometimes when these are not monomials with x plus 4, x by itself is, 4 is, but not together. 4x plus 120, same thing. Not together, but 40x is and 120 is. There's other names that we can give these. There's such a thing called a binomial, and even a trinomial. So these are binomials. They have two terms. These are the trinomial ones would have three terms. But we're not doing this now. This will be more in 8th grade that you'll hit these. But that's what a monomial, it means one. Mono means one. To factor a number means to write it as a product of its factors. For instance, 4 is 2 times 2. So the factors are 2, or 2 squared. The greatest common factor of the two monomials is the one that's the largest that can go into both. So 2 is the largest number, or 4 in this case is the largest number that can go into 4, of course. But sometimes we're dealing with two things like 4 and 8. The largest number, that the GCF of 4 and 8, the greatest common factor that can go into 4 and 8 is 4. 8 can't go in the 4, but 4 can go into 8. 5 can't go into 8, 6, so the largest is 4, so that's what that means. Factored form, we'll talk about that later in the lesson, but here is the definition here. I'll give you a hint. It's the backwards distributed property. That's really what it means. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Here's our first problem. Example number 1, they're looking to find the GCF. To find the GCF of 4x and 12x is you're finding the greatest number with variable that can go into both 4x and 12x. To do this, we're going to use a way of dealing with this and keeping numbers in order. It's called the ladder method. The longer the problem, the more it starts to look like rungs on a ladder. Okay, so we go ahead and we write our problem, and then we draw a rung of the ladder here, like an L, almost like an upside down division sign. And we look at this and we say, you know what can go into 4 and 12?
Mr. Chavez, Mr. Hernandez, Mr. McCollum, Ms. Ogden, please post the
Okay, so what we got here is we have 4 can go into 4x and 12x. So 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 12 3 times. We're going to bring down the x's because we haven't gotten rid of those yet. We're going to rewrite this as another rung to the ladder. And we see that we have an x and an x. Well, x can go into both of these. X goes into x one time, x goes into this x one time. You're going to bring down the 1, which we kind of have there already. You're going to bring down the 3. So really, we just lose our x's and we end up with 3 and 1. Our GCF is located on the left side. is 4 times x, which ends up being 4x. Now to relook at our number, we see that 4x can go into 4x one time. 4x can go into 12x also. X goes into x one time, but 4 can go into 12 3 times. So that's kind of how it has to work. This number has to be able to go into both of these, or have items from both of these. Let's take a look at a different type of problem. It's the same idea. We're going to take 18a, we're going to take 20a, b, and put that into the ladder method. Okay, same idea, same thing. Sometimes we can't figure out what can go in this, and sometimes it's just best to start out with 2. 2 goes into 18 9 times, but 2 goes into 20 10 times. But don't forget, you still have your variables. You have your a, and we have our a, b. So we're going to rewrite our lines. And really what we're going to look at is, we look at the variables that are on both sides. We have an a, and we have an a. When we do that, we know that a can go into both sides because there's an a and a. B can't, because b is only on one side. B does not go into 18a or 9a. There's no b. So we can only use a. So don't worry, the b is going to stay there. It's still going to be 10b, because a goes in a one time. And a goes in a one time, we lose it, it becomes 9. But remember, the bottom part at this time is not what we want, because we want the GCF. So we want 2a. And that's our answer. The greatest common factor that can go into both of these is 2a. Even though it doesn't seem very large, it is the largest number that can go into 18 and 20. And it's also the only variable that can go into a and ab. Why? Because a is on both sides. Let's take a look at a different one. Okay, so now we get 12 CD and 36 CD. So let's go ahead and take care of the numbers first. I know I can pull 12 out. 12 goes into 12 one time, so I'm left with CD. 12 goes into 36 3 times, and I'm also left with CD. Now you could do this one at a time. Do another one. We can pull out the C's. I get D, I get 3 and D. Notice the D's are there. Let's pull out the D's. D becomes 1, goes in one time, and D goes in one time, so we get 3. So what am I left with? 12 CD. Why? Because 12 CD goes into 12 CD one time, but 12 CD goes into 36 CD. Well, C goes into 1, D goes into it 1, and 12 goes into it 3 times. So that's my answer, 12 CD. Let's have you try one. If you think you can figure it out, go ahead and start on it.